And here we go, folks. What's going on? We have somebody very, very awesome today who does it all. And when I say does it all, I mean they work good hours, they're present for their family, and they make some kashish. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Wow, that is an intro. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course, of course. I just want to start off, okay? I was going through, I was doing my, classic stalking before I bring on a guest, and you had a post that you made that talked about your journey being a turtle
Oh,
and the 11 years that it kind of took you to get to this point. And so I'd love to just kind of start off going through some of the big milestones that you've had in your career that have led you to creating what you have now.
yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. So first thing is like I quit my teaching job. It'll be 12 years in June. So I talk about, yes, I am the turtle. And the first time I said that, I actually didn't expect to get such a response. I totally didn't get it. And I had so many people be like, oh my gosh, I am a turtle too. I'm still on the turtle journey. It still feels really hard. It still feels really slow. And I guess it's because you see so many people who appear like, they crush it from day one. So 12 years ago, I quit my teaching job and I started a health coaching and a food business. This was 2011. I had, you don't know what you don't know. And thank goodness I didn't know what I didn't know, because I probably wouldn't have done it if I knew what was required. And I quit because I knew I could do something and I just wanted to see if I could get that thing to work. So I won't tell you all of it, but we had a food business from 2011 to 2018, and we were in Whole Foods and Amazon. We were in stores across the country. That's the cool thing is that was our first business. That's how we actually learned online sales. That's how we learned email marketing. We even had a quiz, like throwback, did the ask method in like 2016, was one of the first people who did it, had a food quiz, had a health coaching quiz. So we've been around a long time. And that really was the thing that taught us Facebook ads, email marketing, building a website, getting sales online. And that was kind of the thing that kicked us off, because then people started asking us, well, how are you getting sales online? How are you running your Facebook ads? How are you getting customers? How are you getting cold people? I remember like the first time someone placed an order that I didn't know. And that was like a really big milestone. And this was like 2013, 2014, 2015. So throughout 2011, 2018, we kind of transitioned from doing more with the food business to doing coaching and consulting. And the next kind of big milestone was in 2018. I was about to have my third daughter, and I was at this crossroads of kind of having to pick, do I take time off with her, or do I keep running this food business? Because the coaching and consulting was very lucrative. It was very profitable. And the food business was not that profitable. You can only make so much money on a bag of granola versus, coaching and consulting. So we shut down the food business. That was 2018. And we really started helping people grow their businesses online. And I don't know how much through the journey, but that's essentially like 2018 is when we went all in on coaching and consulting until we kind of got here, which now we help people create evergreen high ticket sales funnels. And it's been a turtle journey, but that first leap I took was the reason why I got here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What a great story to kick things off. So, you talk about what you do now, evergreen high ticket funnels. All right. For those that are listening, can you give a high level overview of what evergreen is?
Mhm.
Why, what price point are we talking when we say high ticket, and kind of how does it all operate?
Yeah. Okay. So Evergreen, we're all about keeping things simple. I say I have a lot of roles and responsibilities in my life. So I try that are very complicated. I'm a mom of three girls. I don't need complication in our business. So we keep things very simple. Evergreen to us just means making sales every week, leads every day, sales every week. And that is the simplest way I could possibly put it. High ticket, I would say like most people that we work with are around the 2K and above mark, but do we have people who offer things at lower price points? Absolutely. What I consider more than the actual price point is, can you actually make a good living and be profitable off your price point?
Mm. And are there any benchmarks related to numbers when you say that you kind of define as like, hey, you want to have X amount of profitability from a fulfillment standpoint? Or do you have like a number in mind that you like to strive for in your business and your clients' businesses?
Well, I think when you're starting, because I think it's a little bit hard to talk about the nitty gritty of profitability when you're starting out, right? But more what we look at is like, how much money do you need to make right now? And how can we do this in like the most stress-free way possible? And what I mean by that is like, sometimes when people come to us, they're brand new to online business and their audience size is, say, 50 people, and they want to launch like a $30 product. And realistically, I'm all about mindset work and being expansive. And if you need to pay your mortgage, you need to make money, you need to pay your bills, it's going to be hard to make money off a $30 product when you're just getting started.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you recommend when people are starting their business that they should focus on a high ticket? And assuming we're talking online businesses here, coaching, consulting, courses, the digital world, do you encourage people if they're just starting or if they're making a career transition that the first place they should look for is something related to that high ticket level so that regardless of their audience size, they can have the ability to get to a number that can actually pay bills quicker than trying to sell low ticket just to get their feet wet?
Yeah, I do. And I think there's another element there, which is delivering an actual result to a client. If you are in a transition or you're new ish, it's the most important thing you can do is figure out how to get a result for your client. And usually, in my experience and in the experience of the clients I work with, you need to work closely while you figure out your framework to get someone a result. So it's going to be a lot less stress for you to work closely with someone or a small group of people to figure out what is it going to take for me to deliver a result to these people in this capacity, and how much is that going to cost, because it's usually going to cost more than a few $100s.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so interesting. As you're talking, I'm thinking about when I tried and changed my offers or when I evolved every business that I've done. The first thing I've always done is worked one-on-one with people at a high level so I could have high touch point, quicker testimonials, and a guaranteed result. Then once I've done that a few times, I could then recreate the process a little bit simpler and know exactly what I need to post, what order I need to teach it in, and how to actually expand on the great service that's already done. Plus, one-on-one for most people is what they're looking for, especially like they want access to you as the expert, right?
100%. And I think sometimes when you view people online, you think you need to skip that, but it's it's easier and simpler if you start there. Like there's just no getting around it.
Yeah. Do you think, you're obviously the evergreen sales expert. Why do you find evergreen being or why do you find it being better than the start and stop launches? Or why do you personally enjoy it more? Because look, everything works if you figure
Mhm.
out what works for you.
Totally.
But we all have our preferences based on what's worked for us. And that's what we often want to teach other people, right? Hence why I teach people how to write books so that they can use it to grow businesses. Like there's a process, there's a strategy to doing that. So I'm curious for you, like, why do you like Evergreen more so than the start and stop? And how does that work with your schedule?
Yeah. So I love that you said everything works, because I fully also believe anything works. And why I like Evergreen personally is from the revenue and the impact side. It's both, and it's always going to be both for me. The revenue of just making sales, making new sales every single week all year long is personally way more desirable to me and feels better just emotionally and in my bank account rather than having a big cash infusion a few times a year. I think in the past, again, this is I'm just speaking through my experience. It can be a little almost like you almost get like I almost got like falsely inflated from the cash infusion when it's like, well, okay, if I had 100K launch divided by 12, that's not actually that much money per month versus can I get there now every single month? And then the second side of it is I am so passionate, and I know you are too, like your passion explodes off the screen about helping people. And I had a really hard time saying to people, no, I can't help you right now. And
Mm.
that's like really what it comes down to. If we're not brick and mortar businesses, but can you imagine walking into a store that was open and walking in and them being like, I have nothing for you? You'd kind of be like, okay, well, why are you open then? And that's my personal feeling. Like, I want to be able to help anyone who wants my help, wants my business's help. And if I can't, then what's the point? That's just my my experience, my belief.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing this because that's what this show is all about, is to give people different perspectives based on what's working and let them make the decision for themselves based on the
Totally.
information. And look, I can hear people already saying, and I'm sure you hear this a lot, evergreen. Oh, that means I have to sell all the time. I don't even like sales. That means I'm constantly doing this, constantly doing that. I have to email people all day long, blah, 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 like all this stuff. And these are all valid things that people may experience. How do you respond to some of those thoughts? Because I'm sure you hear them all of the time when it comes to evergreen sales.
Yeah. So the selling thing is I this might sound harsh, but it's like if you can't get behind selling them, why are you in business? It's a service. It's a service. And when I'm selling, I have the potential to change someone's life. And that's literally the way I look at it. So selling to me comes from an open heart. It comes from service. And at the same time, I don't have to be the one doing the direct selling all the time. At this point in our business, we have a team who supports us in that sale. So it's two things. It's like, one, if you feel like you're bothering people, then we need to look at that because your program should be a service no matter what. And even if it's a $5 product, it should be enhancing someone's life in some way. And secondly, you can get to a point where you don't have to be the one doing the literal selling, but if you're a personal brand, you're selling every time you speak, you're selling every time you write, you're selling every time you open the camera.
Why do you think, I see this a lot when people are selling for their own business, there's an extra, it feels like almost like emotional attachment, which creates a divide when they're actually selling. But if you're selling someone else's product or you are working for a product-based business, you have no issues promoting the business or talking about it or selling it. Why do you think that is for people when it comes to the mindset and the psychology around that?
Because as personal brands, we get so attached, and I've totally been there. We get so attached to what we're doing. And that's why, like, if I work with my clients on detaching, and I always say, like, I am not my business. My business is not me. It's a separate entity and it has other people that support it. I think people feel, one, directly tied to the result that they get people. And two, they don't know how to, like, the best way I can equate it is to cutting the cord. And I just had this conversation with one of our clients. I said, I imagine you have two kids. Imagine if you never cut the cord and you were still walking around attached to your kid, and now they're 5 and they're walking around with you everywhere you go. Like, that's not good for them. And it's not good for your business either.
Yeah, you're coming in swinging with some of these analogies, Nicole.
I love an
Um,
analogy.
so, okay, I want to get into something because you mentioned, team a little while back. But before I do that, I want to share something because you have been able to build this business, and you talk about this a lot, working about 15 hours a week.
Mhm.
Okay, so not only have you grown a successful business that's profitable, that's evergreen, that cash flows, that makes you feel good, that allows you to produce great results, but you're also able to do this 15 hours a week. So, did you start with that as the capacity? Or did you start working more and then hired out to buy your time back? I want to start to really dig into this because I think that this is one of the biggest things that people don't believe is possible when they're running an online business and scaling it.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I have really backward beliefs here. No, and you're so on target because I literally was just asked this question this week. I started with way less time because I had babies, and I had babies that didn't go to school until they were 2, and I have 3 kids. So we had a kid home for a lot of years of our business. A lot of those 12 years, I had literal babies at home. So I only had like maybe 2 or 3 hours a day or less that were like between not even fully focused time. So you don't, this is like, I know it's a hard pill to swallow. Most people don't need more time. They're just doing things that aren't related to getting sales or serving their audience. So I know it's really bold, but if you don't have a lot of time, you don't need more time. You need to focus on the things that matter. So no, I started super small. I started like 5 to 10 hours a week. And as I grew, as my kids grew, I grew. I got more time back when my kids went to school. And as I was focused on the sales, I was able then to hire. And I will also say, like, because I think it's really important to recognize, my husband came on full time in even more 2018, 2019, 2020. He works full time with me now. And that is an immense privilege because it is, we can run circles around most teams because I don't have to explain a lot of things to him because of the nature of our relationship. So I'll say, like, that is the first immense privilege I have. And that is why when we really got serious in 2019, 2020, 2021, and really focused on the things that matter, was able to grow more because I had him as my number 2.
I appreciate you like acknowledging that you know that that's a benefit to you, right? Because, I think some people talk about, oh, well, I did it all on my own. Meanwhile, they have somebody that gets them better than anybody in the world working hand in hand, and I think there's something to be said about that. And I appreciate you just acknowledging that, and not trying to like hide it or trying to make it seem like some other way. And I want to talk to you about this though, because you said you started with even less than that, right? Which is the opposite of what most people think you need to do. And what are some of the tasks, assuming that you are building this on your own to start, what are some of the tasks that you think are the most pivotal and most important for the limited time that people may have while they're growing and working on their business?
Yeah, it's literally like 3 things. You need a lead system, you need to contact the lead system, and you need to serve your clients. And I think we get so tripped up. Like, someone actually DM'd me this week asking, did I start out? She said the same thing. Did you start out with like 40 hours? And is that why you can work less? And it was a DM, but I literally laughed because I was like, oh my gosh, no, I started out with so little time. It's insane. Now I just said to Dan, oh my gosh, next year our youngest goes to kindergarten. We're going to have like almost a full normal work day. This is going to be amazing. And your lead system, like, you need to find the shortest way to get people to go from traffic to sale. It doesn't need to be complicated. People add in so many different layers. Like, if you get the phone number, text them, pick up the phone and call them, send them a personal email. Like, just don't make it complicated. You don't need, and you shouldn't, especially when you have minimal time, have the most complicated funnel that it takes people like 30 days to get through. Why?
Do you have like a typical like recommendation for people for their lead system? Do you recommend people use ads from the get-go? Do you recommend people use their offline network, LinkedIn, Instagram, cold outreach? Like, do you have a personal preference that you encourage a lot of people when they're beginning or when they're limited on time?
Yeah, I would always say absolutely start with your personal network. That is 100% where I started. going, like literally doing in-person things. Now, when I had babies, I did not do that anymore. So I was doing like like you called up on the phone. Like my first group program was in 2012. You called up, it was dial up, like teleclass. It was so crazy, but that was through my personal network. Like that's what I started with. We put up like literal like people still put up flyers. There's no shame in that game. Like find where people sit who are your ideal clients and go there, go put up a flyer. And then of course, ads, we grew our whole business through ads. I'm a lot of people who've grown through organic think that's like cheating sometimes, but I will cheat all day long if that gives me more time with my kids, if that's what you think. So easiest way, which of course requires some tweaking, is put up a freebie and send them to book a call. Like it's so simple. Give them a reason to get on the phone with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, let's keep going through this because I think it's really fascinating how simple you're making this because I do think it is that way. I think that some people are like, well, I need to do this first. I need to do that first. I need to have these colors dialed in. I need to have my videos recorded before I even sell something. And like, you got to guide people the fastest path to the sale that gives them the greatest value. Like that's where I kind of believe it and come from too, because I built a basketball event for NBA players and I didn't have all the connections. But what I had was like, I'm going to get you in front of the people that have the chance to pay you millions of dollars. Do you want to be a part of that? And I called everyone. And that's how we got started. It was, here's what we got. Do you want to be a part of it? And how can I get the information? And then what was the fastest way to getting them there? And so I love when we kind of remove the complication, remove the inundation of ads that come our way and the marketing headlines and the 75 million different techniques, the 33 techniques on webinars that you can use. Like there's so much shit out there, right? But at what point do you say, and maybe this is a general, because I don't know, I mean, this is different for everybody, but at what point do you say, all right, I'm doing these things, I'm keeping it simple, but I'm still doing it, and now we're producing. At what point, and again, maybe it's a revenue point, maybe it's a capacity point, do you expand your team? And where do you recommend people start with bringing on team members to essentially make it easier on them?
Yeah, so I don't think there's a right or wrong, but I think looking at capacity and revenue, both are really important because if you're maxed out on capacity, you just can't do anymore. But what I think one of the biggest mistakes, and I would love to actually hear good stories about this, but and I don't know if you have heard, I'm going to share what I have heard. What I don't like people to do, or what I have see go massively wrong, is someone then hiring a very expensive OBM that they think is going to fix and they want them to run them. And then they don't go out and get more sales and it goes horribly wrong. And they think it's the OBM's problem when they just maybe hired in the wrong area or hired outside of what they could actually afford at the time. So where we always go is two places first. The easiest place, hire in your house first. And that is probably a little counterintuitive, but especially if you're a parent and you have no help in your home, if you are doing all of the cleaning, all of the laundry, all of the everything, I'm not saying to hire out child care necessarily. If you don't have a babysitter, that might be something to look at, but hire in your house first because it requires a lot less training and requires a lot less from you. After that, an assistant is a great place to start because they can take those like lower level tasks off your plate that, again, doesn't require a whole lot of training. What I have seen people do is they think they can hire and then not speak to that person for a month. And that never works. When we hire, we talk to them every day. Like literally me or Dan, usually Dan, honestly, is talking to them every single day and then maybe every other day. But we meet with our team multiple times a week. So assistant first, and then client success manager is the second person.
And describe client success manager for everybody because, there are different people assume this can be different types of client success. It could be, I would love to hear kind of where you think their best skill set is and what you have them
So
do.
what we did was, because we got to the point where we had clients that we want to always, like, our first core value is the client and getting them the level of service that is above anything else they've had. And I would say when we got to maybe about 40 clients, we noticed that Dan and I were starting to have trouble keeping track of where clients were. So what our client success manager does is she basically keeps us organized and make sure our clients are doing what they need to do to move forward. Now, I'm kind of describing it like babysitting, and it's not. It's having the processes and then being responsible for those processes. So every single week, our clients fill out a data tracker. That allows us to see what's working well, what are you struggling with, where do you need help? And then she's the bridge between those clients and us, and helps us kind of keeps the pulse on what's happening in the community. And she kind of looks for, okay, what are the trends? What are the red flags? So then we can proactively help them and they feel supported.
Wow, you said something there that I've been asked a lot recently, which is asking clients to fill out the data tracker, the form like weekly, right? That's what you said,
Yeah.
weekly.
Yeah. Mhm.
One of the things that I've heard recently is, well, I want to give them the greatest experience, but I don't want to ask them to do too much. You know, like we're already teaching them and however you deliver your service, whether it's through modules, one-on-one calls, done for you services, whatever. Like I don't want to bother them, you know, and so how have you guys been able to do that? And how have you been able to get buy-in from your clients to know that, hey, every week you're expected to fill this out? Like, how do you set that expectation in a positive light?
Yeah. It is. How we frame it, which is the truth, is like the clients who get the best results fill this out. So do you want results? I mean, it's literally as simple as that. Like, do you want results? And I also say, like, if you fill this out, I know your business. If you fill this out, so I can help you. If you don't fill this out, I can't help you because I don't know. So it's really the buy-in of just like, do you want the support and the customization, or do you not? Like it is that simple. And the thing that I'll say is we are continually looking at our program to cut things out, to remove things that don't matter. Like your clients don't need to know everything you know. They need to know the few steps that it's going to take to get the results. So if I like vomited everything I knew with almost 12 years of online business, ooh, it's like an encyclopedia. No one wants to read that. They just want to know what's the minimum I need to know to have the result. So we're continually, literally like pulling out parts, re-recording parts, making things shorter. I don't want them to spend a lot of time in the portal. I want them to be in action, and the data tracker allows them to be in action.
Mm. How do you differentiate? Okay, how do you differentiate? Because in the sales process, oftentimes people are like, well, what's included? And a lot of times people like want to hear all of these things, even though that's not what actually makes the decision for the client, right?
Yeah.
But then on the backside, on the delivery side, we know that, hey, you really only need to do a few of these things. You don't
Mhm.
need to do all of these things. How do you dance between that to make sure that the client feels that they're going to have enough, but then also making sure that you only give them what is actually needed?
Okay, so again, counterintuitive, but we don't tell our client, our prospect, every single thing we give them because it overwhelms. I won't curse. It overwhelms them.
You can curse.
Just to put it plain and simple, we actually hold back on a lot of our deliverables because my promise to you is that you're going to build an evergreen system and you're going to have consistent leads coming in. Does it matter in the portal what the portal looks like if I'm going to do that? And we say, like, we're going to be there to support you every step of the way, and these are the levels of support. We don't go into anything else. Like, it's if someone asks us, because I will say maybe 5% of our prospects want to know more, and 95% of them are just like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So we hold back. Like I literally, if I told a prospect how many calls they got per month with us, it would overwhelm them. It's too many. We have calls almost every single day in our group.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is so good. And this is why like why obviously as a book guy and helping people write books, this is why I say that books are so valuable because by the time someone books a call with you after reading your book, they don't care what's included. They just
Yeah.
know that you're going to get them the result that you talked about in your book. And so I love that you're talking about that because it kind of is like the theme is like you've just found a way to like simplify. You've just found a way to do the things that matter and figure out the processes. And then you're very focused on what are the numbers I need? How many leads need to come in? How many calls do we need to have? Like whatever the sales process is that you specifically use. But I love that. And so as we kind of head into like the final like portion of today, I want to talk about this because I want to go back to like being a parent, being a CEO, working 15 hours a week. Like I live with my girlfriend. I just turned 30. Like, my biggest dream is to be a dad and to be married and like build this absolute freaking empire. And a lot of people are like, well, you can have one or the other. How do you make sure that you have time for your partner, make sure you have time for your kids, but also make sure that you're building and growing the business to the level that you want it to be at?
Yeah. Well, first, I think it's just clear that you and me and probably the people listening are not like everyone else. So why would you think you need to live a life like everyone else? I don't want to choose. I've never like picked, so I'm not going to. Like it's just it again, everything is just simple for me. And does that mean that I have a week, like next week I'm traveling, I'm going to be away from my kids? It's 1 week. It's not even a week. It's 3 days. I'm going to be away for 3 days and then I come back and I'll be with my kids for the weekend. So you have weeks, you have days, you have seasons of life that may be the summer, I work an hour a day. I'm with my kids. That's my commitment while my kids are little and they want to hang out with me. I'm going to be with them. I'm going to be with them. That's probably going to, my oldest goes to middle school next year. It's going to start to shift. But during these years where they're littler, that's my summer. I don't do extra business stuff over the summer, but I'll make up for it somewhere else. So it's never like you don't need to have the perfect balance per day. I look at it on a grander scale per month.
Mhm.
Was I balanced this month? Was I balanced this year? So you don't need to choose. Have your values, have your priorities, and know like what season you're in. So if you had asked me to do a podcast interview in August, I would have said I can't because I always turn down stuff in July and August. I can't. It's my clients and it's my kids. That's it. But September, I'm going to be September's really busy for us. January, really busy for us. Summer, no.
Cool. What This is just a silly question, and then I want to make sure that we have a chance to follow up with you and kind of dive into your operational side of things, which is okay, 15 hours a week, 1 hour a day. Like, I love to work and I love the choice of being able to work. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do with your time if you're working 15 hours a week? Like obviously kids, but like what do you actually do with the rest of your time? Because one of the things people are like, oh, is I want to only work this amount of time, but
Yeah.
then they have no idea what they want to do with their time.
Yeah.
So what do you do? And I know it changes, but like,
Yeah.
what do you do with your time when you're not working because you can?
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is working 1 hour a day, and again, like I want to make sure I'm clear about this. Working 1 hour a day over the summer is not that like I love working too. So I actually like to work more than that. But again, it's the commitment I made when I chose to have a business and have kids. So again, that's what I'm committed to. And when it gets to August, I start to get antsy because I'm like, I actually want to be working more and I'm with my kids. So it is a balance. And I don't want to, even in working so little, it's a sacrifice. So I just want to be clear on that. What do I do now? Where we are right now, it's a lot of meeting with our team, making sure our clients are moving forward, and then doing group calls with our clients and content. Like speaking, creating content, being on video, recording podcasts. And I would say we meet with our team 2 to 3 times a week. So that's a good portion of as I have elevated. Even last year, my time was not taken up in that way. So even as we've grown and elevated, it's been more of, okay, meet with the team, make sure they're doing what they need to do, make sure I'm not the kink in the system, which I can be if I'm slow on something, and then make sure the clients are good. Like that's
Awesome.
what I'm doing.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. For our final minute on this. Okay. I'm going to do a rapid fire. Sometimes I
Okay.
do this. This isn't planned. This is when I'm feeling it. I just come up with questions. First thought, don't elaborate.
Okay.
We don't have
Okay.
time for that. Just first thought. You could skip, but don't skip. All right.
Okay. I won't skip.
Here we go. How many people are on your team?
Oh my gosh. I actually wrote this down. 8.
Amazing. How many are full-time versus part-time?
Only me and Dan are full-time.
Okay, amazing. What is your favorite high ticket price point to sell things at, either for you or for clients?
Oh, 20K.
That's a great answer. I wish we could elaborate on that. What is your favorite container in terms of length of time to deliver a high ticket service?
Years. I love to work with people for years.
What is the initial typical time frame
Okay.
that you go with before
6
renewal? Because I know
months.
you have huge renewals.
6 months.
Okay. If somebody were to say, I'm following your system, I'm going to do the basics. What is the first place they should do to look for leads?
Their current audience.
What is the simplest way to convert somebody from a lead to a client in terms of like, what's the easiest process?
Uh, Literally say, I can help you with X. Do you want help with that?
I love it. I love it. Those were some of the questions that just came to mind that I thought would be really, really great for everybody. So Nicole, I mean, how do we learn from you? How do we become part of your world? How do we hire you? Where do we go?
Instagram. So simple. Just Nicole Culver on Instagram and send me a DM. I love them.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. You guys heard her. Send her a DM. Like, if I was listening to this episode right now, all right, what I would do right after this is I would go to Instagram and I would reach out to you. And what I would do is I would see exactly the process that you take me through as someone who's potentially interested in working with you. I swear, like that's what I would do, because then I can see, all right, how does it work? Who am I communicating with? Like, if you can get access to the expert and use listening to a podcast as your way in, you've now opened the door to do research and to potentially work with someone who can really help you get the results you want. I can't tell you how many times I've ended up writing a 5K plus check because of doing that exact strategy for someone that I didn't expect to actually work with, but I was just so impressed with their process. And I think that that's going to happen after this. So I love that. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute blast.
Thank you. It was so fun.
Cool. All right, you guys. Appreciate y'all for listening, and make sure to go check out Nicole on social and have yourself a great day. Let's go.